Hey everyone, Mr. Newman here. We're doing practice benchmark 2 form D, and this is question number 3. Julie wants to use the discriminant to determine the number of real solutions of the quadratic function. Which of the following will be Julie's conclusion? First of all, you have to remember what the discriminant is, because this question is all about the discriminant. So look at the quadratic formula. If you have that there, that inside of the square root is the discriminant. This number inside the discriminant tells us how many solutions there are. If it's positive, that's a good thing. You can have a positive root 5. Sure, it gets a decimal, but that's okay. If you have a negative, you can't take the square root of a negative, so if the discriminant is negative, that means there are no solutions. Remember that if it's positive, because that plus or minus right here, right in front of the square root, that means you actually have two answers. You have positive whatever's in the square root and negative whatever's in the square root. So if the discriminant is positive, there are two solutions. If you get the square root of 0, that means there's exactly one solution, because plus 0 and minus 0 is really the same thing. So one solution. That's what you have to remember for the discriminant. And so we can look at this. Look, without even doing any math, two real solutions because the discriminant is greater than 0. That's possible. No real solutions because the discriminant is less than 0 because it's negative. That's possible. But look at C. No real solutions because the discriminant is positive. That's not possible, because if the discriminant is positive, there's two real solutions, not no real solutions. And here, two real solutions because the discriminant is negative. Nope, that's also not possible. So you can cross out C and D just because of knowing what the discriminant is. Now, what is the discriminant and how do we find it? What's that A, B, and C in there? Well, remember, A is the coefficient of the x squared term, B is the linear coefficient, and C is the constant. In other words, A is negative 2, not negative 2x squared, just negative 2. B is negative 1. Remember that there's a minus there. There's really an invisible 1. That's a coefficient. And then C is 6. Now, I'm going to use these and plug them into b squared minus 4ac. When I do that, I can type that in the calculator and I get 49. That's a positive number, so that means A is the correct answer because the discriminant is greater than 0, and there are two real solutions. Suppose you get stuck and forget what the discriminant is, or forget all these rules up here. There are other ways to tackle this problem. Having more than one way to tackle a problem in your arsenal is a good thing, especially because it builds your confidence on a test and gives you a higher chance of getting the correct answers. So, what this little cloud over here is, what if I forget? Well, I can type this equation here into my y equals, into my calculator, right? And I can look and see how many solutions there are. Remember, solutions are just another word for x-intercepts when it comes to parabolas. So if I graph this, I see that means there are two solutions because there are two x-intercepts. And that means that, well, we could cross out B and C right away because it says no real solutions. Now you have to know what the discriminant is for the other one, but at least we've narrowed it down and gotten a better educated guess as to what the answer is. The other thing you can do is you could, instead of graphing it, you could also type this into the quadratic formula and find the solutions, where A is negative 2, B is negative 1, and C is 6. When you plug those in up there, that will give you those two solutions. And that is another way to cross out B and C and narrow it down to A or D. And then you just have to know what is the discriminant, and when it's positive, that gives me two solutions. Thank you very much for watching.